Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 21st, and we are now off into spring, both astronomically and meteorologically speaking. So it doesn't look like spring though. As you can see, we've got another trough here approaching. We had some rain last night, some wind gusted 42 miles per hour at my house last night here, and I'm doing some remodeling. So I have a big tarp out there. I had to make sure that thing is secure. But anyway, taking a look, we got the next system up, and we're going to remain rainy as we go through portions of this weekend. Then we'll take a look at our break that's coming early next week, and then we'll take a look at the extended forecast. Man, the models want to really bring an exceptionally deep trough off the west coast of North America and keep bombarding the Pacific Northwest with active weather systems. So first things first, let's take a look here and see some of the rainfall was just pouring during periods of the day yesterday, and then we kind of got a bit of a break there last night when it got windy, and then you can see we've had additional rounds of precipitation still moving in here, and the troughing here is going to keep some of that going as we go on into the day today. There is a thunderstorm threat here as well. Now, taking a look at apparent temperature right now, let me update that. So this is minus 7 hours. You know, then it's pretty close to 8:30 when I'm doing this weather briefing here. Not too bad out there, 46. This is taking wind chill into account here as well. And you can see it warming up a little bit there as relative to previous mornings. And western Oregon, some of the higher terrain of Alberta and BC is still pretty chilly. Cascades, eastern Oregon as well. Now, this is lightning strikes over the last 24 hours. Look at this. We had a few lightning strikes along the coast of Vancouver Island and out over the Pacific Ocean as well, and then over some portions of central Montana. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, speaking of lightning detection systems, this one's got its own. It's very fun to watch it, and yeah, it was alerting me a few days ago when we had the thunderstorms moving across the region and just how far away they were. Fun stuff. So here's Seattle, Tacoma, and if you look closely, you can see how these valleys are now carved out and they're not included in these winter storm warnings. It used to just be a big block of pink there and a big block of purple, and it wouldn't take into account there. So people in those valley areas who weren't getting winter storm or winter weather conditions would actually get those. And so we should be fixing that now because we've got all these new zones that highlight those terrain features much better. And same thing for Portland as well. You see how some of these valley areas get carved out into these winter weather advisories. So, snow through Saturday morning. Look at Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, and this was updated, of course, this morning here about 3:30. Spokane National Weather Service always on top of things. Check out Lookout Pass. Perhaps another foot of snow right there on the Montana-Idaho border. And if we look off across again, across some of the Idaho Panhandle and western Montana, we got a lot of snow coming in here, 10 to 20 inches, 36-hour total, changeable road conditions. Be careful of traveling back and forth. Now, Northern Hemisphere look, there's Washington State, Hawaiian Islands, you got Japan way over here, and then there's Greenland right there. So what we're looking at here is about 30,000 feet up in the atmosphere, or 300 millibars, and there's the trough we're talking about right there with our first system. And then we keep some of this precipitation going on through the day Sunday. We try to build this ridge, but man, the models are squeezing it down and kind of taking it away bit by bit, slowly. And then look at this trough that gets carved out as we go on in through the mid portion of next week. No doubt keeping active, unsettled weather here for the Pacific Northwest. And watch this. I mean, look at this power pack jet stream and the whip snaps. Big trough here off the coast of North America. This would be, impacting maybe from British Columbia all the way down through California. Just look at that jet stream, just absolutely powered down. You're talking about wind speeds over 180 miles per hour, just straight out of the north, out over the Gulf of Alaska, and carving out that trough and just keeping the active, unsettled weather here as we go through the early portion of April. And who knows what's going to come after that. Now, artificial intelligence as well, we'll put that into motion. That tries to build our ridge there, but it's kind of keeping things a bit, we're keeping it a little bit too close there. It's making me a bit nervous. We might only get one very nice day out of that ridge, but we'll see. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But then look at this trough carving out and moving through, and then we get that powerful jet stream, this huge winds I just talked about. Big ridge out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutian Islands helps to carve that trough. And I mean, this is cold enough to bring snow down to sea level if that were to set up across some portion of the west coast. It stays out over the open ocean, but look at that 519. That's once you get to about the 522 line, you can easily get snow down to sea level, and in some cases even not as deep as that with the 500 millibar heights. But look at that trough. I mean, just amazing. The most anomalous deep trough here across across the northern hemisphere, no doubt, and spurred by this ridging here, driving that troughing here. So yeah, very interesting trough here through the extended forecast. This is going to be fun to watch over the next few days. And if we take a closer look at that here, the artificial intelligence will scroll out there and you can see these systems just taking big swings here at the Pacific Northwest. And again, look at that polar lobe just setting up off our coastline. And we would be in this southerly flow ahead of this, so it wouldn't be that cold for us. And there'd be a lot of precipitation here, but this could be bringing atmospheric river activity anywhere from California to Oregon, depending on just exactly where this trough sets up. Now, let's take a look at over the next few days, daily 2-meter max temperature. This is for today, Friday, March 21st. Seattle 52, Portland 51. A little bit warmer here, eastern Washington, maybe creeping up towards 60, low 60s out there for some areas. And if we go on in towards Saturday, you see 53, 54. Sunday, we're going to keep some of the precipitation going for Seattle, but the Willamette Valley starts to warm up a bit. Might not be too bad of a day there on the day Sunday. Monday, we start to warm things up. You're talking about maybe 60 for Seattle, some 70 showing up for eastern Washington, the Willamette Valley. Then Tuesday, check it out. Probably the best day is Tuesday. And you can see some of the valleys up into British Columbia there, the Okanagan River Valley, for example. And yeah, some 70s, some mid 70s showing up, maybe 70 for Seattle. Who knows, up into southwest BC, warming up quite nicely. Wednesday, kind of a transition day because we got another storm system that's quickly coming off and trying to pinch our ridge and bring clouds and some precipitation into the area. And it could be some interesting stuff here. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. Then we go Thursday, Friday, and we definitely cool things back down after that. So if we take a look at that, this is the system as we're going through the day to day, bringing that precipitation across much of the region. Saturday, sneaky dry day for some of the Puget Sound there, and maybe some precipitation continuing for some portions of western Oregon. But then Sunday, not so lucky here for Seattle, but during the day, it might be kind of hit and miss there across Willamette Valley, lesser versus Seattle. And this atmospheric river almost look to things here as we go through the day Monday, keeping some of that precipitation going. Try to build this ridge for a nice day Tuesday, but as we go through Wednesday, the precipitation already bearing down on the Pacific Northwest, and some models are showing a negatively tilted trough here, which could bring some thunderstorm activity back across the region. More on that here in a moment. Now, looking at last night's European, this is the deterministic run, so you can see the rain going on today into tomorrow morning. Sneaky dry day on Saturday. Soccer moms out there, soccer dads. And then we continue some of that precipitation into western Oregon, and we go on into Sunday. And you see how the Willamette Valley faring better than the Puget Sound if you want to try a day there on Sunday. Then we go on in through Monday. We start to wane some of that precipitation for western Washington, western Oregon, but it continues up into BC. So you're not getting much of a break. Even on Tuesday, for Vancouver Island and whatnot, there's still going to be a lot of clouds. But then look at this trough digging off the coastline there, and you see it spreading some of this shower activity back across the region. This could be in the form of thunderstorm activity. A lot of defluence aloft means convergence at the surface, and it could be unstable enough to kick off some thunderstorms with that. And then you can kind of see we're going to be dealing with this deep low off the coastline, spreading that precipitation. So yeah, this is something that I always do in spring. I'm always trying to time some of these sneaky dry days in between some of our weather systems out there. So I'm always on the lookout for that. Now, a lightning flash density potential here. So this is for today. You can see it does have a bit of a thunderstorm chance, mainly across Washington, British Columbia, some of Alberta there. And then we start to scroll off, and let's back up there. That's Saturday there for the Rocky Mountains of Montana down into Wyoming and some of Alberta and eastern British Columbia. But then we go off in to see what that next system is going to look like on Tuesday. So you see, as we go through Tuesday afternoon, some of the destabilization across portions of Oregon. Wednesday is what I meant, though, for the big impacts of the storm. Then we go through the day Wednesday, and there's the morning Wednesday. You can see some of these thunderstorms, maybe western Washington, western Oregon, southwest BC, portions of eastern Washington, and then look at that as it moves across into eastern portions as we go through on Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. So we'll be watching that system very closely. Kind of interesting early season thunderstorm potential associated with that. And if we scroll out here, I talked about divergence aloft. I'll show you what I mean. We're looking at 30,000 feet. And you kind of want to look at 30,000 feet versus 18,000 feet for this because it shows the upper levels of the atmosphere where you want to see that divergence aloft. You get the convergence at the surface. And you can kind of see this jet streak there, and then you see this wind spreading out. That's what I mean when I say divergence. And then at the surface, of course, you get the opposite response, which is convergence. So that's what could be kicking off some of those thunderstorms as we go through the day Wednesday. And you can clearly see our trough off the coast of Oregon as we get off towards next week. We'll see how that continues to trend. Now, we got pretty blustery last night here in Seattle, and as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, it gets pretty windy here for some of the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon and Washington as well. A bit of a surge coming down the Strait of Juan de Fuca there as we go through tonight as well. Whidbey Island might be getting a bit gusty with that. No major windstorm upcoming here though. Now, this is day one. Storm Prediction Center does include Seattle, Spokane, Clips, Pendleton there. There's Missoula, Montana for that thunderstorm threat. Doesn't look like a strong signal, however, and I guess we already looked at that. So let's look at 700 millibar temperatures, and you can see the cooler air associated. Then we try to build this ridge as we go on into Tuesday and Wednesday, but the next storm system is lurking out here, and it's been coming in a little bit closer and a little bit quicker than what the models have been saying. And there's our ridge, but then you quickly see this polar lobe curling up off our coastline there, and that would be bringing that thunderstorm potential with it. So we'll see how that trends over the next few days. 15-day precipitation anomaly, European artificial intelligence, and there should be no surprise with what we just looked at. Above average is expected. And looking at the extended forecast, you can kind of see how it's just locked in. We are locked in here as we go through the early portion of April with this troughing, big ridging out here across the Bering Sea and the Aleutian Islands, helping to keep this trough in place. And then we go on in through, this is probably the first week of April. We start to relax that a bit, so there's always some hope for the early portion of April to start getting some better weather in here. 6 to 10 day, let's make sure that is up to date. It is. A lot of the west above average, above normal. Precipitation chances there. Look at the southwest above normal, 8 to 14 day, and keeping that above normal precipitation as we go all the way towards April 3rd. And we drought monitor updated yesterday. Oregon is drought free. Check it out. Just a little bit of abnormally dry. We still have some of the moderate drought. Pretty good precipitation deficit across some portions of the Cascades of Washington. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys are liking the videos. We will continue to watch those storms and break them down day by day. Very active period continuing on to the end of March and all the way on in through the early portion of April. Hope you guys are having a good day otherwise, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.